Alright, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to a 1v1 game in between Mr.Yo and Bad Koala. This map is Dry Arabia, and I wanted to cast this game simply because we haven't really heard a lot about the Chinese community playing Age of Empires 4. In case you're not familiar with these players, which means that you probably weren't around in the AoE2 community much, Mr.Yo is the best Chinese AoE2 player, whereas for Bad Koala, he's actually a pretty solid player, especially in team games in AoE2, but definitely weaker than Mr.Yo. Both of the players will be playing Chinese over here, so there's some added spice to this conflict in between them. So, as I said, we really don't have a lot of information on how much the Chinese Age of Empires community is willing to invest time and effort into Age of Empires 4. In fact, I just bumped into Mr.Yo's profile recently, so I really don't know what level he's playing on. His skills are there to be a pro player in Age of Empires 4 if he wants to, and the fact that he has recorded games with Bad Koala means that they do have computers that are capable of running the game. As far as I know, the game has a setting where it is capable of running on very low quality computers as well. So I am fairly certain that some of the Chinese community members that have weaker computers will be very happy about that one. I think I have seen Vivi as well from the Chinese pros in AoE4 already, so I might actually take a look at some of his games. But for now, I thought it would be interesting to take a look at the two WWP players battling it out against each other. So double Chinese over here, as I said, it also is going to add a lot of spice to this one, because so far in all the games I casted, we have seen Chinese versus another civ, like Rus, French, potentially Britons, and in most cases the Chinese are the underdog civilizations in those matchups. Chinese have a lot of things going for them. They're super flexible, they have a pretty big diversity and a lot of depth, but I feel like brute force civilizations like the Rus, the French, potentially the Mongols, are just better currently in AoE4, or at least until people figure out how exactly you have to play the Chinese. That being said, a Chinese mirror is not something that we have seen so far, so let's hope we're going to see an entertaining game over here. Up north is Bad Koala in blue, and down south is Mr.Yo in red. So it's gonna be interesting to take a look at the dynasties of these two players, because you see we have the dynasty indicator over here, but I'm not sure if that's going to dynamically change if I switch POVs. In theory it should, but you never know with AoE4. So Mr.Yo's got a quite exposed front gold mine that he's taking over here, far from ideal, whereas for Bad Koala, he's not messing around, he's going for the walls. Now, keep in mind that this stealth forest is something that is traversable. If he just walls in here, then it's not gonna be enough. Units can still run past his walls here, so I'm not sure if he knows that. As I said, this might be some of the earlier games they played, so there's a legitimate chance that neither of these players are super high level in AoE4 yet. Obviously, if they figure out the game, they will be very good players. It looks like Bad Koala knows that he needs to wall here as well. It's a pretty big investment in terms of wood to make all those walls, but it looks like Bad Koala just wants to play a more defensive focused game. He's actually pretty heavy on wood already, has 3 on gold, so currently he's just missing the food he needs to go up. Looks like Mr.Yo was actually wandering around with his scout, so he actually managed to get a hit on top of that villager. He didn't end up killing the Will though. He could have tried actually killing that Will. And it looks like Bad Koala is gonna go for the walls over here on the right side as well. So for those of you that are not from the Age of Empires 2 community, I can tell you a story here. Because the walls have a big tradition in the Chinese community. Back in the days of Age of Empires 2, the Chinese were considered some of the biggest wallers. They have been using a huge amount of stone walls, way more than any other player base has used. So really, most of the Chinese community were using a huge amount of stone walls. It was just their playstyle, they played a lot of games against each other, so that was their own little meta, to play super heavy on stone walls. Meanwhile, Bad Koala almost lost a villager here to a wolf. He survives at 2 HP. It looks like he's just gonna go for 4 walls here. He's gonna be delayed to Feudal Age because of that, as he's going for the Imperial Academy. Now, the placement of this building is very awkward, because you see that you want to have your drop-off buildings inside the influence radius of the Imperial Academy, because your buildings will generate more tax income that way. So you want to affect this lumber camp, potentially the mining camp. This is just going to be a very underwhelming landmark at this point. If you build up your farming eco here, it's going to be super amazing. But for now, that's a pretty underwhelming position for the Imperial Academy. Meanwhile, Yo is going up for the Academy as well. But you see, his placement is much, much better. It is being able to buff the gold mine over here. And it's also going to buff the lumber camp as well. I don't think it can reach the mill, though. So, looks like Mr.Yo popped out the tax collector already, which should be able to get the tax from the gold mine and this lumber camp as well. Yo actually ventured out very far for that stone. This could have been a safer stone for him, but considering that Bad Koala is just fully volleying himself, he doesn't really need to be worried, and it looks like Bad Koala will just go for villagers on stone, and he'll probably just play 2TC boom. Now, I feel like the palisade walls over here for Bad Koala are actually giving sort of a false sense of safety. Because, let's say Mr.Yo has 5 spearmen. If Mr.Yo gets the infantry siege upgrade, he can just make battering rams and get through those walls much easier. So, full walls in Feudal Age are not as powerful in AoE4 as they are in AoE2. Slumber Camp actually collected a lot of tax revenue. Looks like Bad Koala has turned off the automatic tax collection over here, and he wants to supervise the building. I see. So when you supervise a product or the drop of building, the villagers will actually drop off more resources at there. So that's the plan here for Bad Koala. Looks like he has played a couple of games with this civilization already, because it feels like he is familiar with the features of the Civ so far. I'm not surprised that Mr.Yo and Bad Koala are both focusing a lot on Chinese gameplay. I'm fairly certain that there is sort of that pride as well for them, that, you know, you can just play with Chinese, being a Chinese player yourself. Second town center coming in for Bad Koala. It's going to be on the berries and the wood line, and it looks like we're in for a booming game. Mr.Yo is also going for, the second H2 landmark, the Barbican of the Sun. So, if he goes for a second landmark, he's going to unlock the second dynasty, the Song dynasty, which would allow him to make villages, the Zungenu. And the villages would just be a more wood-efficient version of houses here for him. Second DC also coming in for Mr.Yo. So far the game is pretty peaceful. Neither of the players are really focused on aggression. Both of them are just sitting back booming. I think Yo isn't really making any kind of walls or anything like that, because he knows exactly that Bad Koala is sitting behind walls. It's a pretty big investment for Bad Koala, though, I have to say. So, as I said, I'm not necessarily a big fan of this. There is a second Imperial officer coming in here for Bad Koala. Makes me wonder if he wants to supervise a different building as well. Looks like the tax collector is off from here and it's actually coming in to collect tax. That's, I think, the right thing to do. Whenever you have tax income on these buildings, and you have quite a lot over here, you gotta collect that for the gold. And then once you have collected all gold from tax, you can just go back on supervising. Especially when you don't need to make production buildings. I don't think that you need the supervisability to anything else. Obviously, you can supervise your drop of buildings for some extra resources. But at this point, with this much gold in form of tax, you probably want at least one Imperial officer collecting that. And you see this guy's just wandering around, picking up the gold from the mining camps. Whereas the lumber camp is being boosted right now. Looks like we will have a gate here for Koala, so he's gonna move out with the scout. Still no production building from him. Meanwhile, for Mr.Yo, he is also on 2 TCs. Yo's got 2 Imperial officers as well. One of them is going for tax collection, and the other one is supervising the mill. So the build orders of the 2 Chinese players are here are very, very similar. Makes me wonder if, you know, these are some conscious discussions of strategies, or they just sort of figured out the same way of playing the game right now. It's very possible that within the White Wolf Palace clan, which both players are in, or within the Chinese community, there have already been some discussions on how to use certain civilizations. Is this the best way to use these civs? I don't think so. I feel like what Bad Koala is doing is way too exposed to early aggression, and I can say the same about Mr.Yo's strategy here, but it very much seems like the 2 players have so similar strategies that you gotta wonder if this is, as I said, a result of discussions within the Chinese community. Second H2 landmark is also coming in for Bad Koala, going for a Barbican of the Sun. That should unlock the Song dynasty for him as well. as I said, the indicator is wrong here. So the thing is that Mr.Yo is already in the Song Dynasty, but Bad Koala is still in the Tang Dynasty. By default, it should switch when you switch POVs, but that's apparently not the case, so, well, such is life. I sort of expected that to be the case, to be honest, so we'll have to manually keep track of those. For now, it's going to be Song Dynasty for both players. Yo actually ventured out to the left side to grab the hunt. He also got the villager hunting upgrade for his vills. On the lumber camp, he actually got the fast tree chopping one, but not the double broad axe for the time being. A lot of mills here for Yo, I'm just noticing. A huge amount of them. Did he actually need the mill on these huntables when there was a patch of berries here? I don't think so. Without this mill, you would just walk from the huntables here to here. That's still acceptable. And it looks like he was coming in for the boars as well. He was just going for mills everywhere. Now, it might have been a little ambitious to try and take down the boar with 5 vills, but it looks like he was going to be able to do that. It looks like the villagers are doing more damage with their spears, and looks like Yo will keep all of his villagers alive. One of these vills is very low HP, but still will survive. That's 2,000 extra food for Mr. Yo, and I feel like Yo is benefiting a lot from the fact that Bad Koala is not contesting the map in any ways. By the way, we have a market as well for Bad Koala. It would have been better to have this market around here and actually mix in some trade cards to that trade post. There's a third town center as well for Bad Koala. For Mr. Yo, I think he's still on 2. So currently, Koala is at 56 villagers, Yo is at 62. So Yo seems to have a slightly better macro here, apparently, because Yo's got a pretty considerable eco lead, despite the fact that he has been on 2 TCs as opposed to 3. He also made a village, so you see he's already at 130 population cap. Looks like he's aging up with the astronomical clock tower for the siege weapon production. Whereas on the other side, Bad Koala, he's pretty far away from Castle Age. What happened here to Bad Koala? He's still mining stone. So in theory he could add another TC here, but doesn't have the wood for it. I'm somewhat puzzled on the gameplay of Koala, who now has 3 tax collectors. Feels a little too excessive to me right now. There's a lot of tax to be collected here though. It looks like the tax collector is going for these mining camps that are pretty much depleted. So you might need to manually retask them on the lumber camp, because this is already floating 140 tax revenue. This one also has 50 gold worth of tax revenue. So yeah, it would be ideal if that tax collector started picking that gold up. But with the clock tower coming in already for Mr. Yo, it's very possible that he's just gonna go for a mangonel to get through the walls. And since he's going for triple stables, I would expect lancers to come out pretty soon. Meanwhile, on the other side, I don't see any intention from Bad Koala to go for any kind of army. He's at 73 wheels right now, Yo is at 74, so Bad Koala managed to catch up for the time being. And it looks like Yo is going to lose his scout here to the Barbican of the Sun and the scout of the opponent. Yo coming in with Horseman. Ooh. Ooh, no Lancers. That's an interesting turn of events. I'm not sure what the motivation is behind the Horseman play instead of Lancers, because you would go Horseman if your opponent had a lot of crossbowmen, but that's not the case right now. So, looks like we'll have a stable coming in for Bad Koala, as right now Yo is at 666 stone. I wonder if he wants to drop a keep in the opponent's face, because with that many stone you might actually be tempted to do that. A keep here would be amazing. It would sort of open up the front of Bad Koala's base, deny a gold, deny hunt, wood. But that would be an amazing spot for a keep. Looks like it's a barracks for Bad Koala. I thought it's a stable, but no, it's a barracks. So it's possible we're going to see Spearmen. And the Spearmen would work perfectly fine against the Horsemen until a couple of Nest of Bees come in. Yo is making traps. Not something that you see on a very, very frequent basis, but traps can work very nicely as a Castle Age siege unit. Castle Age on the way as well for Bad Koala. He's going up with the clock tower as well. So you see that both Chinese players prioritized the Song Dynasty instead of hitting Castle Age first. The Song Dynasty gives you villager training speed reduction to 13 seconds compared to 20 seconds, which is the default value. So it definitely helps when it comes to booming, especially when you have free TCs like Bad Koala does. He's at 84 villagers right now. Yo is at 85, so head-to-head in terms of villager count are the players. But of course, Yo's got way better map controls. He's got Hunt here, he's got Hunt here, he's got a mill somewhere around over here that's still not finished with that boar. You see, there is still 800 food on that boar, so it's really worth it for Yo to grab this. Yo, in fact, looking at his resources, at this pace could think about Imperial Age. He's floating 1500 stone. That's enough for 2 castles, pretty much. He's already setting up the trap, and he'll probably target the Barbican of the Sun. His opponent is going Men-at-Arms. Well, it's called Palace Guard for the Chinese, but it's basically the equivalent of the Men-at-Arms. Now, the Palace Guards are okay against the Horsemen, but they die pretty badly to Lancers. You probably want Spearmen in this one. So you see, these are heavy infantry. They're just like Men-at-Arms, but because of cultural stuff, they can't really be called Men-at-Arms here, because historically that's not accurate. Palace Guards would work against the Horsemen to a certain extent. Obviously, the first charge of the Horsemen will be devastating, but after that, the Men-at-Arms can actually take a reasonable fight against the Horsemen. Right now, the Treb is taking down the Barbican of the Sun. Not something that Bad Koala needs to be worried about right now, but something that he needs to be considered soon. And I see another landmark being built here by Yo. Where is that? I think that's the Imperial Palace, right? That's indeed Imperial Palace. So that's the second H3 landmark, which means that Yo would reach the Yuan dynasty. Now, that's not something that we see prioritized very often, for multiple reasons that I'll explain in a moment after we see this battle. A Springald is out for Bad Koala. He might try to snap down that trap with the Springald. And you see, if the cavalry can charge in, like the light cavalry, the Men-at-Arms take a decent fight against them. I'm not 100% sure if the Men-at-Arms are cost efficient here, but they can actually take down horsemen, not lancers. So, you see, the Palace Guards are going to overrun Mr.Yo's cavalry here. Yo might try to dive in and snipe the Springolds, indeed outmaneuvers the infantry of his opponent. Meanwhile, on the other side, we'll have the Palace Guards diving in and trying to snipe the traps, so both players will lose a decent amount of resources invested into siege weapons. So, the thing is that the Song Dynasty is a pretty powerful dynasty here. You get the villager speed or villager training rate increase, plus the villagers, plus the Zungenu, but really the eco bonus is the biggest thing for the Song Dynasty. So most of the time, the players stay in the Song Dynasty for an extended period of time, and they usually don't go for the Yuan Dynasty early. In the Yuan Dynasty, you can get the Granary, which is going to boost your food eco quite a bit, plus 15% speed for your military units, villagers, and officials is nice as well, especially when you're playing archers. Plus, it also unlocks the Fire Lancer, which is a unit that has insane charge. It's a very fragile light cavalry unit, but it has insane charge, and it's very good at sniping siege weapons or setting buildings on fire. The thing I don't like is that the moment you unlock the Yuan Dynasty, you lose all the benefits of the Song Dynasty, so those no longer apply. As here comes our blue player, Bad Koala, with the Men-at-Arms, or Palace Guards. For Mr.Yo, he needs crossbows against this one, and the fact that he is reacting with crossbows tells me that this is not the first time he's playing this game. He seems to be pretty experienced with his reactions. It's a little bit weird that he's playing this with horsemen by default, because I think if he played this with lancers, he would be able to destroy those Palace Guards anyways. But once he's got a couple of crossbows out, those Palace Guards will just melt like butter. And you see, mobility advantage will be on the side of Yo. And if he mixes in a couple of Fire Lancers, he could get through those walls very easily. The Fire Lancers have insane torch damage. You see the Palace Guard slowly getting ground down here by the crossbows. There's also a keep here with no Springolds or boiling oil on it. But the crossbows should still be able to take this down. And now you actually benefit from the Yuan Dynasty here with the movement speed bonus on your crossbows. They do have 1.29 speed. The infantry here, I think, still outruns them, but they have enough firepower to deal with the Palace Guards for now. Looks like siege weapons are coming in for Bad Koala. He's getting a trap out, and keep in mind that the Imperial Palace is here for Mr.Yo, so he could lose that building. The Imperial Palace gives a very, very nice vision to him, so if you look at his POV, this is what Yo sees, thanks to the Imperial Palace. It's like a spy building for him, pretty much. Looks like Yo will be able to clean up most of the Palace Guards, and this is the moment where Bad Koala will need horsemen to deal with the crossbowmen. Heavy cavalry won't work, so he needs light cavalry. Meanwhile, for Bad Koala, I think he's still in the Song Dynasty. I don't think that he went for the second landmark. Indeed, he's still in the Song Dynasty, which I actually like more than the Yuan Dynasty. For Mr.Yo, here come the horsemen trying to snipe down the Treb. Trebs and in general siege weapons are pretty fragile to cavalry units because they do have a lot of bonus damage with their torches against siege. So you see, without spearmen, it's just not possible to kill the horsemen fast enough to prevent the traps from being taken down. And now the crossbows are coming in, picking apart all the heavy infantry from Bad Koala. Even spearmen would work better here for Koala than the Palace Guards. Now, what is that? What was that nuclear blast? It was just a rock from this trap, apparently. Ooh, a nest of bees coming in here for Koala. Now, that is very, very good against massed archer units. And you see, that's actually getting some very nice hits on top of those crossbows. The next volley could easily destroy these. There's an Imperial officer that was supervising the now destroyed building. Was it an Imperial officer or was the villager? I don't even see it anymore. But for a moment, I thought it was an Imperial officer supervising that building. Another nest of bees coming in here. Yo trying to snipe it. Bad Koala coming in for repairs. Another nest of bees pops out. So it very much seems like Bad Koala wants to play this one with Palace Guards and the nest of bees. And you see, nest of bees actually melt all the crossbows here. Yo has to withdraw. And it's possible that the nest of bees will also survive, or at least one of them. Yeah, there is one over here that's still alive. Bad Koala right now at 148 population. Mr.Yo at 125. Ecos are 111 to 120, so pretty close, as it looks like Yo will have no trouble trapping down those siege workshops, so we'll probably see some more here from Bad Koala. He could also use an Imperial officer to supervise production on the clock tower, which produces siege weapons that have more HP. So I could really justify an Imperial officer being tasked to just supervise this building for better production, but that's not something that we're seeing from Bad Koala. He's got quite a lot of stone in the bank, so a keep could be considered, just like Yo placed the keep here in the middle of the map, as the nest of bees might survive this. Nope, it's gonna go down. Another keep comes in for Mr.Yo here. Looking at the resources, Bad Koala is not far away from Imperial Age. Mr.Yo, I think he is not going up yet. Springbolt coming in to try and snap the siege weapons. That was very nice from Mr.Yo. And now the crossbows will get some nice shots on top of the Palace Guards. Looks like the Palace Guards will still be motivated to take this fight in close combat, trying to snipe down the Springbolts. And I think the pure numbers here for Bad Koala might be sufficient to win this battle, or at least snipe down that trap and then disengage. I don't think that the Bad Koala should overextend like this. And you see Yo is packing up the Springbolt and running for his dear life here. Some more crossbows on the way for Mr.Yo. I wonder what the upgrades are for Mr.Yo's crossbowman, because that would be an interesting one to look at, but we have so many things going on that I just can't look at the blacksmith right now. Looks like it's gonna be enough for Yo to clean this one up. He's got a Springbolt on that castle now. I think boiling oil would help immensely here to contain this damage, and you see some of the Palace Guards will actually find a couple of vills. Scores pretty close over here, but as you see, Bad Koala's got the food and he's got plenty of gold as well, so he could go up to Imperial Age anytime now. And if you go up to Imperial Age with the... how is the building called? The building that allows you to go for all the dynasty units that you unlocked before, that would be pretty nice. So he could get the Ming Dynasty in the end and still have access to all the bonuses that the Yuan and the Song Dynasty would actually give him in terms of available units and the buildings. So Imperial Age on the way for Bad Koala. That would also allow him to start making hand cannoneers, and Chinese hand cannoneers are pretty powerful. I think they have a unique upgrade that buffs the attack of gunpowder units. Very nice so far by Bad Koala to garrison the TC, and these horsemen shouldn't be able to do much until they potentially find these vills in here, which is apparently not gonna happen. Pretty lucky for Bad Koala. So this is one of the reasons why I didn't like the Yuan Dynasty from Mr.Yo. I don't think that he's actually getting anything from the Yuan Dynasty aside from the mobility bonus on his military, which is very nice, but it's a pretty big investment and it's going to delay his Imperial Age. He's not far away from Imp either, but he is gonna get beaten to Imp by a quite considerable margin. And this allows Bad Koala to start making hand cannoneers, potentially, bombards. And yeah, this is what I was talking about, pyrotechnics. It actually increases the range of gunpowder units. I thought it was damage, but no. It's actually a range increase. Also, reusable barrels would be very nice if you place Nest of Bees. Yo is doing a beautiful job sniping down the Nest of Bees with the Springolds, and he's gonna disengage and run away. Honestly, the more I look at this Yuan Dynasty build from Yo, the more I like it. In the long run, it's gonna pay off that he's got mobility bonus, because the Yuan Dynasty allows him to just run away with those Springolds like crazy fast. So there's some things to like about this one. I still believe that I think going straight into Imperial and staying the Song Dynasty a little longer makes more sense, as it looks like Yo now finds the villagers on the wood line of his opponent, so Bad Koala is gonna have to withdraw. Castle dropping the right-hand side gold is Bad Koala, as we already have a monastery in here for Yo, so he might actually think about taking the sacred site or potentially pick up some relics. It looks like Bad Koala is just very, very stubborn going for the Palace Guards. Looks like now he's mixing in some Spearmen. He doesn't even have the Hardened Spearman upgrade though, so he's very, very far away from actually having combat-ready Spearmen out. Looks like he's gonna clean up the Horseman without problems, and now Yo is up to Imperial. Now that he's up to Imp and he's fully boomed, I think I like the Yuan Dynasty a lot, so in fact, I think that Bad Koala needs to get to, probably not even the Yuan, but the Ming Dynasty, because the Ming is where the real power is at, with the 10% extra health for your military units. Plus, of course, as I said, if you get the second Imperial Age landmark, the Spirit Way, that allows you to use all previously unlocked units from the dynasties. Looks like a university is coming in here for Bad Koala. I see some horsemen being mixed in as well. That could be very helpful for Koala, because horsemen will just shred the crossbowmen, and they will be able to take down the Springolds as well. Looks like no siege is coming out just yet. 124 villas for Bad Koala. Yo is at 118, so it's pretty close. And it looks like the castle goes up on the right side, so Bad Koala will be able to force away Mr.Yo from this gold mine and secure it for himself. Meanwhile, there is a Springold emplacement on this keep over here, plus Spearmen out here, so these horsemen will just get annihilated here real quickly. The horsemen are missing the elite upgrade, the Spearmen are missing the veteran upgrade even, so a lot of upgrades are still missing over here for our blue player. Mr.Yo is in the Yuan Dynasty, and I wonder if he ever wants to go into the Ming. It's very, very expensive. It's like a second Imperial Age, so you would have to invest 2,400 food and I think 1,200 gold for the Yuan Dynasty. It's a massive investment to get to Ming. Meanwhile, for Bad Koala, it would be 1,200 food, 600 gold to get to the Yuan Dynasty. I think he's still in Song, it's just the overlay bugging out, but we can check it out. Is there a university? On university, biology would be a good upgrade, but pretty expensive for the cavalry. Considering that he's pretty heavy on the infantry, elite army tactics is also pretty nice over here. Plus, ancient techniques. Very, very good upgrade, especially if you are high in dynasties. Now you see, Bad Koala is still in Song, so it takes some time for the overlay to reset. So, ancient techniques, not so amazing for Bad Koala. It would be way better for Mr.Yo, who's already in the Yuan Dynasty. You see, Springolds don't do that much for damage to buildings. They will slowly grind them down, but they're not actually meant to be big damage dealing units to buildings. And now the horsemen jump on the crossbows. That's a perfect fight for Bad Koala. That's gonna be a slaughter. Yo's got the lead horseman over here, so does Bad Koala, but all those Springolds go down. The hand cannoneers will actually be able to do a lot of damage, but once the meat shield melts from in front of them, Mr.Yo is going to be in trouble. Yo is at 153 pop. At this point, Bad Koala is at 167, and he's cleaning up Yo's entire army. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Mr.Yo actually destroyed the right-hand side keep here from Bad Koala with a cannon, and now he's killing all the villas, so he will reclaim that gold mine. Something that Yo really needs, because Yo didn't have a lot of gold income in the recent couple of moments. Looks like the horsemen will continue their charge, and they will just steamroll everything they got in their path. Yo is gonna have to match the horseman numbers with his own. He was got a lot of food and wood in the bank, so he can definitely match those horseman numbers for a long time. Food income is basically the same for both players, so is the wood income. Gold income currently way better though for Bad Koala. That's something that needs to be considered in the long run. But Yo is about to secure this gold mine, so that might change soon. Bad Koala coming in with a TC on this gold mine, so he still wants to grab that. And oh, if the horseman gets the Imperial officer, that could be massive. By the way, Yo has completely forgotten about that officer that has been supervising an unused mill for a long time. Speaking of which, Imperial officers, now you have a lot of production buildings that generate tax income, as well drop-off buildings that have a lot of tax income on it, so the officers have a lot of things to do, and there could be a lot of gold hidden in your drop-off buildings, potentially. So, especially lumber camps, mills, those could have a lot of gold on them. Looks like so far Bad Koala has done a good job collecting all of those, as he gets the TC up on the far left side. The middle area, it looks like Yo is able to contain the damage with his own horsemen. Let's look at the upgrades. I don't think Yo's got a lot of upgrades here. I think at least one more armor is in for him though. Anyways, the bombards actually do a lot of damage against buildings. That's one of the lesser known facts. Everybody's making traps because traps have higher range than bombards. But the idea is that bombards do a lot more damage to buildings, but they have a shorter range than traps. Looks like this bombard for Bad Koala is going to survive. So you see, a single bombard projectile does like, what, 400, 500 damage? Yeah, almost 600 even. Traps will do way less damage than that, but they have a higher range. So whenever you want to take down keeps quickly, you probably want to use bombards simply because they have a way better range. Looks like archers will be mixed in here to deal with what could be spearmen in the future from Bad Koala. Indeed, here come the spearmen. And it looks like Yo is just going to play this one with archers and horsemen. Yo has lost the landmark over here as well. But currently, Bad Koala is stuck at 160 population. Yo is at 164. Bad Koala's got a lot of idols. And it looks like Yo will destroy the TC on the left side as well. And the spearmen will clean up the villagers. Bad Koala tries to get some stables up over there. On the right side, it looks like Bad Koala will lose this position. There is some stables out here for him as well, trying to get some raids in with the horsemen. And as things stand, the army numbers are, I think, still better for Bad Koala. 36 versus... actually, no. Yo's got 70 army, but where is it at? There is some horsemen over here. Oh, that's where it is. 15 archers, bunch of spearmen on the left side. I think there is a bunch of horsemen on the right side as well. So Yo's got a decisive army lead right now. 105 villagers for him, 123 for Bad Koala. So Koala's got a way stronger eco, but he's got half the army as Mr.Yo. And it looks like the overchop just happened over here for Bad Koala. So those horsemen will be able to come in. Bad Koala's gonna have a tough time cleaning this up, even though he's got veteran spearmen on the way here to deal with this. Spearmen will try to take down these stables before they can cause further problems. Meanwhile, Bad Koala actually swoops in with his horseman, and he's gonna kill quite a lot of farming eco from Mr.Yo. So, Yo is gonna lose quite a lot of his own economy here. Looking at the resource banks of the two players, Bad Koala is pretty low on resources, whereas for Yo, I still see a huge amount of resources in the bank. And those archers will have quite a bit picking off the spearmen. There was a bombard as well for Bad Koala. But this, in all certainty, is gonna get sniped down by the horsemen. So, here come the cavalry charge. That's gonna be a couple of lost archers here from Yo at minimum. As we got on the left side, Yo will probably clean up the stables. On the south, it looks like Yo is also dealing with this cavalry attack using spearmen and using his own cavalry units. Bad Koala is at 156 population. Yo is at 177. Yo is down to one Imperial officer only, so he pretty much lost all of that to the raids. And his gold income isn't impressive either. But he's got pretty decent food income, 45 on food, 25 on wood for Yo, 79 on food though for Bad Koala. So Bad Koala definitely has horseman spamming potential. I wonder if it's a production problem for him, because he seems to be very low on army numbers. He also doesn't have any kind of archers to support his army, so it's not like he can actually pick off the spearmen of his opponent or just do anything against the veteran archers. Speaking of which, the Palace Guards would actually be a decent addition now for Bad Koala again, because he's up against Horsemen, Archers, and Spearmen. None of those are amazing versus Palace Guards, and Palace Guards would have this Battle Hardened upgrade, which would give them plus 30 HP, so fully upgraded Palace Guards would probably shred this one, but it might be a little too late for Bad Koala, because now I see a lot of momentum for Mr.Yo. Bad Koala stuck at 143 population, and the bigger problem is that he doesn't have army. It's only 28 army versus Mr.Yo's whopping 98 army over here. And if a couple of bombards come in to take that keep down, things are gonna get really ugly here for Bad Koala. Looks like he will be able to contain the raids on the right side, but Yo is now taking over the left side. And he's doing this even without biology, which is something that he could and he should get, and that's gonna buff his cavalry even further. Incendiary arrows could be helpful if he plays a lot of archers, but not something that's extremely important, as it very much seems like he has just now gotten the elite archer upgrade, and he's grinding down the numbers of Bad Koala. Bad Koala's castle here is still alive, and he's got a bombard emplacement on it. Looks like Yo will be forced back for a time being. But look at that wave of spearmen coming in, and that's something that Bad Koala never had an answer to. He was playing with Palace Guards for a long time, and that would have been a counter to it, but he hasn't added any of those for a long time, and that's just gonna shred all the cavalry for Bad Koala. He's sort of stuck at this 150 population level, and while he has an impressive amount of 80 wheels on food, with 3k food income, reality is that Yo's food income is slightly smaller, but Yo is taking more cost-efficient engagements. So if you look at the military, the KD is favoring Yo quite a bit. So while the resource income was somewhat similar for Bad Koala, Mr.Yo was taking more cost-efficient engagements, and in the end, Yo takes this game. Was a fun one to look at this Chinese mirror over here, even though at the beginning this was a quite defensive game. I'm really curious how the Chinese players can actually translate their skills into a tournament environment. I'm not sure if they actually play in Genesis, the first major AoE4 event, but even if they don't play in that, I'm sure that they will play in future tournaments. I'm actually going to check it out, but Mr.Yo has signed up for Genesis. Lix also signed up as well. No information for Bad Koala, but it might be because he's not a seeded player. But I'm curious how these players will perform. If there is any people in this planet that can figure out how to play Chinese very efficiently quite fast, it's going to be from the Chinese community. So even though I don't think that Chinese is among the better civilizations of the game right now, I think it's like a solid B-tier civilization in the current meta, I think that there is a lot of flexibility involved in this, and it's very possible that someone like Mr.Yo, Lix, or Vivi will figure out ways to use Chinese in a way that's gonna surprise opponents. So that's gonna be an interesting one to take a look at. Hopefully you did enjoy this little showcase of what the Chinese community is doing with AoE4. I might take a look at some of their other games in the near future. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.